Thanks for the introduction, Eric. Also, it was really good to follow the previous Aisha's talk, because part of my talk will be about using logo, or net logo specifically, to be creative. So creativity is sort of maybe the ultimate moonshot for artificial intelligence. So it's quite a interesting and developing topic at the moment. Has been used to help write pop ballads, mimic the styles of great painters, write plays, and so on. So the experts are wondering, how far can AI or should it go in the creative process? So AI solutions, according to Robert Berkeley, I'll just close the door. Most helpful when they're used to support rather than take over the sort of creative process. But fully fledged automatic design is a long way off. So AI's ability to suggest ideas, support design, ideas development process, and automating creative work can enable teams to dedicate more time, more complex, time-heavy tasks, and so on. So the AI is now used widely as a means to, to do the menial work, the develop simple work, but can we take it even further? So, which is what this talk is about. It's very hard to come up with something that is novel and unexpected and useful, according to John Smith. Here's an example of AI being used, to design sculptures and create paintings. The image on the right. But according to this article, it was the creators of IBM Watson. It's not our goal to recreate the human mind. We're more interested in the techniques of interacting with humans that inspire creativity in humans. What could we do to help people come up with new ideas, essentially? Another issue is if you're in the design process, especially if you're designing robots, for example, engineering, according to Pfeiffer and Bongard, how the body shapes the way we think, really interesting book. Design for emergence, it is still an open question. At the moment, design for emergence is an art rather than a hardcore engineering discipline. So how can we overcome this problem? We're trying to design something. Emergent, it's emerging by itself. We don't know what causes it, maybe at the moment, but how can we design for that is the big question. So agent-based modeling involves designing computational models for simulating the interactions of autonomous agents. It's about how can we create the design of an ABM for simulating something, X, for example. Whereas the agent-inspired design process discussed here, or AID for short, is how can we use agent-based models for simulating innovative design. So there's different ways we can do this. We can simulate for design purposes. The advantages is cheaper and quicker to try out different solutions. Creative freedom as well. You have more creative freedom. The disadvantages is that a model may not reflect real life. Evolutionary algorithms, we can use those. That can lead to novel solutions. But the disadvantages is they tend to be toy rather than patentable, as according to Koza's set of evaluation criteria. And another approach is human in the loop. We're combining using a computer and a human. The advantages is the human has control over the creative process. Disadvantages, populations can be small and it's biased to the human's preferences. So what we want, why do we need AID, is we want to design novel and creative solutions for many design problems, all listed there, robotics, artificial life, and so on. AI itself, we need a design for emergence. We want interesting properties to arise and design systems that self-organize. And we also need to design for serendipity, when just things happen by chance that we didn't know about. So evolutionary algorithms can be used to build novel solutions, but are they truly creative? How can we design for something we didn't explicitly design for? How can we get serendipitous results, design for luck? If we use a fitness function, the search is inherently biased and it won't truly find serendipitous designs. And how do we devise fitness functions for AI, digital art, and so on? We could, one approach, one of my students, Chris Hedlian, devised template-based evolution, TBE. The idea was that you would have a kind of a predator-prey situation and you would kill off badly performing agents. But what does killing off badly performing agents mean? This approach did not use a fitness function. So cheaper design is really important. How can we, because the design process is so expensive, the main cost in the design process is the conceptual design, the creation, the exploration of new ideas rather than the cost in building it. AID has the potential to reduce these costs, and employing agent-based simulation and modeling, it helps to reduce implementation costs. So we can rapidly, do lots of prototyping. Effective rapid prototyping significantly reduces the costs, and this results in greater time to spend on the conceptual design. It will increase the chance that serendipitous results will be discovered, and there will also be a greater chance of obtaining results that exhibit emergence and self-organization. So there are many examples in design where there are clearly significant costs in development, but we need more time to play around to explore. The previous speaker, Aisha, was talking about the exploratory approach. Play around with the creative creations we design. We need to just break things, try them out, and then find out they don't work, or that some of them do work. We need to be inspired. We can be inspired from nature, but also our own simulations, we want them to inspire us as well. Give a springboard to new designs. We want to design, if there's anything that I say from this talk, this is the most important sort of phrase: design often and design naively, making many errors. And that's what we want in an educational setting as well. Here's some examples, some projects that use this process, virtual creatures that have been developed at Bangor by past PhD students, and also using Logo, or a dialect of Logo, NetLogo. You can see some of the things that I've been creating myself: fire that flocks, and lightning, and blood vessels, and amazing shapes, and so on. So I'll quickly go through these. This was a process. This is virtual creatures, developed realistic virtual creatures. He did have a phobia for spiders at the start of his PhD. He says, I want to do animation of arachnids. So he still has this phobia. And he's taken that work now and created some really interesting games, VR games. Oculus, or the Ocean Rift, is shown down below there. But this is where the agents themselves, that you can sense and react and see and feel in the environment, and it's useful for phobia therapy, movies, avatars, artificial light research, and so on. So I'm going to show this, and I won't have time, unfortunately, to show. This was the earlier it came out of his PhD research. The important thing I want to show you is the spider's going to get dropped down onto a virtual block, but there's going to be tapping. The spider's going to go to the edge of the block and try to go. At the time of Claire's PhD research, no one had managed to do that convincingly. The spider is embodied in the environment. It feels and senses the environment. It's an agent in the true sense, and through its interaction and the way it interacts with the environment, it
and actually emerges the tapping which the spider does in real life as well, according to Clear. There's an emergent result because of the tapping. You can find this in YouTube, so here it is. He's going to start tapping, and that wasn't explicitly programmed. It just emerged from the result, from the procedural animation. And it's going to go through and it's going to start tapping in order to balance itself, in order to be able to go around the corner. And so that's what I mean by an emergent result. Unfortunately, I don't have time to show you this, but I can show you more elaborate environments. He demonstrates his dislike of spiders by shooting things at the spider. See if I can find it. And so we got, yeah, he shoots balls at the spider. So that's one of the earlier work where, you know, we have, we're being inspired, or there's an agent-based approach, and there's an emergent result. Ocean Rift is the next level up completely. This is a game that you can purchase and so forth, and it's very highly successful. Sorry about the speaker. These are agents, the individually, the flocking, the turtles. And if you're scared of sharks, you can be in the shark cage. And if you want to go back in time to dinosaurs, you can swim with dinosaurs. Okay, so this procedural animation system has been improved, crowdsourcing and genetic algorithms. And there's a paper there, Henschel, Teahan, and Apkenef, virtual reality's effect on parameter optimization. The humans select which virtual dolphin they prefer. Parameters that define it now may continue into the next generation using a genetic algorithm. So basically humans are, and evolutionary algorithms are trying to find the most pleasing dolphin, or and so on. So now, just to finish off, NetLogo, this is some latest work that I've been doing. It's a rapid prototyping programming language based on Logo that was talked about in the previous talk. It's developed at the Center for Connect Learning and Computer-Based Modeling at Northwestern University by Yuri Valensky, and it's for teaching about natural and social phenomena. I have a couple of books, and I've used NetLogo to teach about the concepts, different types of searching, breadth-first search, and so forth, in NetLogo itself. But here's sort of joining together a lot of the interesting models that I've created in NetLogo using this AID process. Just let the agents themselves create something, then I spot something and something emergent might result, and then I use that to design something that I didn't know about. So it's the human in the loop morphogenetic process. The agents are embodied in NetLogo in the simpler terms. To simulate the design process, the animation, the design itself is animated. Simple reactive behaviors, and they're combining this tool that I have, many different types of behaviors: cellular automata, Conway's game of life, L systems, fractals, and so on. So the human mostly observes the simulation as it proceeds, and then the human can control on the fly the parameters and define the design behaviors themselves that are being used, and it can be randomly mutated as well. And it can also switch between different behaviors. So just to get some examples of this,
On the right, and it is we were trying to do an animation of fire, and I discovered that you could use flocking, the Boyds, Reynolds Boyds that are used in various movies that you saw in the game that I just showed you. You can use that to create a realistic looking fire. So it's like the agents are starting from the bottom, and then they come up and then they disperse and so on. On the left here is on the left is the an example of using cellular automata to create digital art. One of my master students was looking at this and said, I've got synesthesia, and when I see that, I hear music. It's very, very interesting as a result. Here's another example. If you've ever played with a Game of Life, Conway's Game of Life, you can change the parameters and you end up with completely different things. This is an example of a glider that glides across the screen. You change the parameters in a certain way, and you end up with a bilaterally symmetrical, coherent body with 3 different cell types. It's like this is grown. It's like a new approach, perhaps, to potential new approach to programming, a cellular approach. You're growing this body. It's like the human body grows. Here's an example. This is the Game of Life.
Go to the conclusion, please.
Sorry?
Can you come to a conclusion?
Yes, yes. Almost finished. So here's the Game of Life, and it's generated all these different shapes. So AI is most effective for creative design when it's used as a tool to help in the design process. Most so-called AI creations to date usually involve substantial human input. So with agent-oriented combined with human-in-the-loop approaches can be useful to help creative designs. So so that's the summary of my approach. Sorry for rushing through it, but sorry for the problems at the beginning. Is there there's no time for questions, is there, Eric?
Well, thank you very much for a really interesting talk, Bill. I was going to suggest that we're due a coffee break, but can I suggest we start 5 minutes later? Rather than at 11 o'clock, we start at 11:05. Anybody who wants to, we can